Overtime comes up in about 15 minutes. Fortunately, the Blues didn't need overtime last night. They just had to hold their breath for the last couple of minutes. At the Newbold BMW Toyota Sports Desk, Mo Drummond has the story.
Yeah, I tell you what, when you look at the Blues, and just think about a week ago tomorrow, okay? You had a Blues team that gave up 8 goals against Columbus, and then they came back and a huge win last night over the Sharks. I tell you what, Brian, I mean, this is a Blues team that really seemed like they've circled the wagons.
They have to this point, and that I still go back to the Robbie Fabry fight on Tuesday.
Yes.
And then even before that, you heard Hitch talking about how they had a great practice. He saw something happen in the room that impressed him, and whatever that was apparently has kind of brought this team together, and they're pulling for each other now.
Yeah, and Hitch talked quite a bit about it. You know, he said something when they got on that plane, you know, whether there was the bitter feelings of that loss, you know, giving up the 8 goals, he said, but when they came back, they had the best practice he said they've had in years, for at least 2 years, maybe one of the best practices he had ever had as the head coach of the Blues. And to have that kind of spirited practice, to come back and get the win over Buffalo. Buffalo, not a great team, but you beat them. And then you come back against a team last night that, you know, just gave you some kind of series last year. You beat them, and now you're looking at going for 3 straight to sweep this homestand.
And Jaden Schwartz last night with 2 goals. Hitch gave him credit for getting in front of the net and making things happen. That's the thing I think the Blues have been missing, is that net front presence.
Yes.
The ugly goals, the dirty goals, the deflections. And if they can find those players now who are willing to go in front, take the punishment, and finish those plays, that's a big step forward.
Yeah, and you know, when you mention those type of plays, and look, a couple weeks ago, David Perron said, you know what, I mean, we were talking about Backus and Brouwer. And he said, look, these guys are gone. You know, he said, we've got guys in here that can do those type of things. But here's the thing. About 2-3 weeks ago, they weren't.
Right.
And now we're starting to see. Remember the power move by Yaskin that led to the goal by Schwartz against Buffalo. You're starting to see, and Ryan Reeves, you know, playing well. There has to be a physical presence when you're playing a game of hockey.
Ryan Reeves has to play.
He's got to play.
He has been really good. And I was talking to Derek Gould was in, and he pointed out that the 2 games that Ryan Reeves didn't play, they gave up 13 goals, 8 in Columbus, 5 in New York to the Rangers. That tells you something. You got to have that physical presence. You got to let other teams know that you have to respect Vladimir Tarasenko, Robbie Fabry, and those kind of guys. And then you can take the next step forward.
Right. You know, and as we wrap here, you know, I was just thinking about those images from last year, you know, big men with big beards in that long line, shaking hands. There were some sad faces. And, you know, I think if anyone says, hey, you know, last year doesn't carry over, come on now. You know that last night's win had to be pretty sweet to come back and knock that team off last night.